Hey everybody, Unstable Gamer here, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for stopping by. Definitely take a look. Let me know what you think. Today we're going to be talking about Simba. This is a sneak peek on what he looks like. We have some gameplay. We're going to talk about his kit, some thoughts that I have around him. Overall, he's pretty cool, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. First, before we do, if you're just now finding this channel and you want to stay up to date with this and other games, consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out. All right, and welcome back. Let's talk about Simba, but first, really quick before we do, just give you a heads up on my schedule because some things have changed. I stream 3 days a week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sometimes those will change. Videos come out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Again, there's some flexibility there. Keep an eye out on the community tab on my YouTube channel or on my Twitter, and I will always update those areas when something changes. So just kind of a heads up there. All right, let's talk about Simba. So Simba is a tank, and if we take a look at his stats here, so these are max stats. You can see Astral 10, so 10K, just over, slightly over 10K for health, a little over 9K for defense, and then you can see the attack and focus there as well. That's on the higher end of the tanks, which is pretty nice. That's a pretty deep health pool. When you take a look at his abilities here, so his core ability, I'm sure everybody has taken a look at this, but he's immune to stun, which is nice, but he's not immune to knockback. One thing I've liked about Mr. Incredible, he's immune to knockback, except for special abilities. That takes quite a bit of time off, because if you get knocked back, you got to get back up, get back in the fight, so you lose some time there. But the stun is nice. Not getting stunned, especially like when you're close to Genie or when you're close to Baymax, those types of things, is nice. Or when Tron lets off his special, right? There's a lot of characters in the game, a fair amount of characters in the game that do a stun, so having that immunity there is nice. He does have a 30% resist from basics and heavy attacks from melees and tanks. Just remember, he takes full damage from ranged and from support. And then just kind of as far as the resist goes, let me go ahead and click on this really quick. So it lowers the amount of damage received by the target up to a maximum of 90%. And it doesn't mitigate damage before being absorbed by armor. So it's nice. It's a pretty basic core ability, but it's nice. When we get into a special, he's going to do 400% damage, which is nice. He's going to gain an indestructible buff, and then lures all the enemies towards him, which is nice because I like seeing a tank that has some sort of a taunt. There's not a whole lot of characters in the game with taunt, and then having that indestructible so they can just pound on him not take any damage, which is pretty nice. So while Simba's lure is active, though, this is pretty cool as well. He is immune to knockback here, except for special abilities, so that is pretty nice. Only when his special is engaged, though. And gains a 15% armor when hit by a heavy attack or special ability, and from melee and from tank enemies. And when his lure expires, Simba knocks back everybody that's around him. So he's going to lure everybody to him. He's going to resist that damage. He's going to gain some armor, and then he's going to knock everybody back, which is pretty nice. Now that, when you think of team compositions, is pretty nice because you pair him up with Zerg, you bring everybody to him. Zerg can do a root right there, so it keeps everybody there just a little bit longer as well. The different types of AoE damage and stuff that we have in the game. If you have Ariel, you bring everybody close to Simba. You got Ariel there, boom, do her AoE. She does quite a bit of damage there. There's some nice possibilities there, so I think that's pretty cool. All right, and then we just take a look at his signature ability here. 200% damage to enemies knocked back by a special ability, which is cool. And then when hit by melee or tank enemy while lure is active, this is nice, Simba gains a 20% attack buff that lasts for 6 seconds. So that's pretty good. And you have a max stack of 3 there. So it gives himself some armor. He gives himself some attack buff. When we take a look at his talents here, the basic talents are pretty basic, right? You got some defense, you've got some attack, but then we start getting into like this right here. When an enemy is attacking Simba, other allies, basic and heavy attacks deal an additional 50% damage to that target. So that is pretty cool. Radiant diversion. Scholar shielding is nice too because he gains 15% armor at the start of an encounter. It's nice to have a little bit of armor there. The amount of armor Simba gains from a special ability is also increased, so you're building up that armor bar as well. So pretty similar to Wally, where you're going to see him build up quite a bit of armor. This blinding lights I think is cool. So when Simba's lure expires, melee and tank enemies adjacent to Simba, they get dizzy. Now when we take a look at dizzy, it doesn't incapacitate them. It just affects a target's accuracy, right? So it decreases the chances that they're going to successfully land a hit on Simba, which is kind of nice. And then Alluring Vanguard. This is nice. Each time Simba is hit by an attack from a melee or tank enemy while his lure is active, his allies gain armor. So not only when he's getting hit on by your opponent, by the enemies, not only are your allies doing more damage, but while his lure is active, they're also gaining armor too. So similar, a little bit similar to Wally, where not only is he gaining armor for himself, but there's a mechanic there that allows you to give armor to your allies as well. So that was pretty cool. I like that. I did have quite a bit of fun with him. I'm going to show you some gameplay. I'm going to leave you with just some non-commentary gameplay here so you can take a look at some battles and stuff. But if I was to compare him to Wally, because I was doing that quite a bit when I was testing him, he feels pretty good as far as being able to control and stuff. His range and everything works out pretty well. The knockback works out pretty well. I just feel that if I was to stack rank him, I feel Wally is probably a little bit better than Simba. One of the great things about Simba, though, is that he has two traits that are specific to two separate towers, leader and royalty. He's the first royalty tank, which is great. It gives us a nice tank to be able to climb up the royalty tower. I was able to beat leader tower, the final battle, level 30, with Simba. I didn't work all the way up the royalty tower before Simba was taken away from me, but I know that people were beating the royalty tower with Simba as well. So he is a good option. I think he's definitely worth it to work through those towers, especially if you don't have Mr. Incredible, or if you're like newer to the game and you get Simba over Mr. Incredible or what. Both of them are great options, but it's always cool to see a Guardian that has traits that help in multiple game modes. And the reason for that obviously is because of resource management. If you can put all your resources into one and be able to take advantage of multiple game modes versus putting your resources in two separate Guardians to do the same thing, it's always good to do that, especially if you have an effective Guardian. So I'm probably rambling on here. I'm going to leave you with the gameplay. Overall, I like Simba. I think he's pretty good. I like Wally a little bit better, and I don't think he's going to replace my favorite tank in the game, who is Mr. Incredible, but he's a solid tank. He does a great job, and you're not going to go wrong putting resources into him. So those are my thoughts. Very curious on your thoughts. What do you think of this? After you see the gameplay, definitely let me know what you think of that as well. So there you go, everybody. That's what I had for you. As always, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts and questions in the comments section below. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the video.